Okay, hello everyone. So I'm doing my best to try and come up with a way that's easiest for everybody to give consistent information. So there's been a lot of questions on the time management plan, and here's the best way for everyone to do it. I'm using women's lacrosse because they have a lot of things set up pretty well. So over here in the calendar tab is where you need to start. Once you add an activity, you're able to name the activity and pick the activity type. At this time, you can also say the dates and times that they start. The best thing about this is if you have a practice that goes from 3:30 to 5 every day, for example, you can go ahead and click this repeat activity button and go ahead and say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3:50, 3:30 to 5. So we can say 3:30, to 5 p.m., right? Repeats one time a week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can even have this go all the way until, like, say, December 5th, right before exams start. Okay? If that's the entire active roster, as you can see, there's groups that have been set up. So you can say active roster. That way, that's one click, that's all you have to do. Again, if you have times that lift and you have different individuals going at different times, or you have position groups such as baseball or football, for example, softball, you can create groups to make it easier instead of needing to select those athletes. Okay, so for example, there's 6 a.m. lift, they're just able to click that group and set it the whole way through. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel that. Oops, sorry. So as you can see, if we go to November and go the month, they have their time management plan done. Their required day off, that's their start of the week. Here are all the lifts, and they're in their 8 hours. Additionally, just so you know, right now, since they're in their 8 hours, if they don't have any skills training, so this is just how the calendar looks right this second. Okay, a day off, a day off, a day off, a day off, a day off. In the 8 hours, you're only required 2 days off. So if this calendar were to stay, this could be the 2 days off, and then you would have 1, 2, 3 additional days that could count towards your 14. Okay, that's just a quick tip for you all. I know that this calendar is not done, but if it were to stand how it is today, that would be an easy way. This week right here, since they're in their 8 hours, this whole week, there are no classes, so the student athletes are gone at home. Because they're in their 8 hours and classes are not in session, the women's lacrosse team with this calendar would not be able to use any of these days this week to count towards their 14 additional days. Okay? How would you add a group? So they had their 6:30 a.m. lift, they had their 7:30 lift, they have the active roster. The easiest way is to go to databases, student athletes. Here you're able to choose Cara groups. Simply add a group, test, add, and then you're able to choose those who would be in your group. So pitchers, you can choose all of your pitchers. Linebackers, you can choose all of your linebackers, especially if they have different meeting times or wait times. So we'll just go down the list and select a few for an example and go ahead and save. Okay, so now we see that that is, well, it will be in here hopefully. So when I go back to the calendar, add an activity, now you can see that my test group is now in there, and these individuals who I selected before are now automatically selected. That's probably the easiest way. So once you get your calendar all filled in, and this is what Molly and I have been discussing as far as time management plans go, you need to have everything that is a Cara activity, so countable athletic related, that goes towards your 8 or 20 hours. And then you also need to have all of your required activities. So anything that your student athletes are required to do, whether that be a meal, host a recruit, could be a nutritional meeting, community service, and that was the list that I provided in previous emails, and I'm more than happy to provide it again. You might see that it comes up with a lot of hours here, but when you actually go to submit your Cara logs, it will only count the things that are counted as Cara, which is why it's so important to choose the correct category in the activity type and not just bunch everything together. So this is the most important part because when you do pick that, then it will decide whether it's going to count in your Cara logs or not. So this is just the calendar. This calendar is also visible to your student athletes through their jump forward profiles, which is why it's one of the easiest ways to get that time management plan set up. Okay, so then when you go to submit them, you'll go to compliance and log my team Cara hours. Everything that you've already entered into the calendar is going to show up on this side. So when you go to log, so for example, your November paperwork, you need to log 10-1 to 10-7, 10-8 to 14, 10-15 to 10-21, 10-22. That's just because they switched here. So anytime you see this, this means they switched from 20 hours on this day back to 8. And the system is just getting it back on the schedule that it needs to be, okay? So all the way through here, since we'll have a little bit of overlap, this week will need to be submitted by 11/5 to the best of your ability. So we just go in, you see these, okay? So wait for it to load. So see, they're still in their segment, fall break, good, everything comes up. All you need to do is say lock, and then you sign off on it. This will obviously be your name, not mine, but for purposes, you sign off on it. So let's just say that this is Coach Jordan, Coach Page, or Coach Pilson, and you just go ahead and sign. Submit to compliance. And then they have submitted that week, and that will show up on my side into my profile. Okay, so with that being said, let's go over and show you what I see on my side. So I'm going to switch my form here. So with that log that was just submitted, so here it is right here that was just submitted. So this is how I can tell when everybody's submitted their weeks. So when I ask if you're delinquent on something, this is how I can tell. So these are the practice logs that have been submitted. This whole list are the practice logs that I have signed off on and then I send to student athletes. And these are the current approved practice logs that I sign off on again. So what happens on a monthly basis is you get these submitted practice logs, and what I do is I go in, I review it and get a preliminary sign off. So I go ahead and sign again. So after the coaches sign off on it, then it's signed off by compliance. And then I can go ahead and assign a date and say send to student athletes. Okay, once I press this button, which I'm not going to do because we're going to reverse all of this, when I press that button, it will send it to 10% of the individuals on your active roster. So, for example, if we go back in, I can show you some of the ones. Where's women's lacrosse? Okay, so these are the ones that I have already sent to student athletes. So see, they have a really nice breakdown of strength and conditioning. They're 6:30 a.m. Individuals or 7:30 skill instruction. See where these overlap, film. They've got everything in here that they really need to have, which is nice. So when I sent it, so it's went ahead and sent it to 5 individuals. So right now this individual approved it, no one has disapproved it, and I didn't get a response from these 4. And that's okay. As you know, before we were only doing one individual signing, and normally it was all the same person. So this is much better protection, not only for you all, but also for the compliance office, the university, and your student athletes. If there is anything disapproved or if they have a comment, it does come up right here. Generally, if somebody has not approved the week, I'll just go ahead and unlock and I'll shoot the coach an email and figure out what the situation is. Again, this is the weekly breakdown. You don't need to be alarmed by these numbers right here. Just need to go ahead and see the rest of the student athlete breakdown and that we didn't go over 20. And that's really what I check for and check for the days off. And I do have a little bit of knowledge based on sometimes when I'm meeting with your student athletes what is accurate. So hopefully that this was helpful as far as the Cara log, so you know that they are getting sent out to the student athletes. That is happening on a monthly basis, just like you all know. So I am putting them in as they come through. And then if you have any other questions on this, please feel free to let me know. Again, the time management plans are really important, and to get those to our student athletes as soon as possible is best. We do prefer them on a weekly basis, or I'm sorry, a monthly basis, and you're more than welcome to do them through Jump Forward. If you're not going to do them through Jump Forward, it would really be best if you could notify Molly or I how you are going to let us. Some other options have been Google Drives. We have had a number of sports who have went ahead and done a Google Drive, shared it with all of their student athletes, shared it with compliance, shared it with sport administrators, so that when there is a live update, we do get that live update right away. I will show you what the student athlete side looks like. Again, you're going to see a lot of notifications because I have a lot of different sports. But just so you know what your student athletes are seeing, this is practice logs when they need to sign off. Okay, so it'll go right to their log. They are notified via email. And again, they just basically look it over and then they say approve or disapprove. Okay? Obviously, there's a handful of people who don't need to worry about comp tickets. This is where their forms are. And then this is where it'd be click here to view your calendar of activities. So when you do put this in correctly, your student athletes are able to see these. I think so at least, because those should, oh wait, there we go. So here's September that volleyball's already submitted. And so they are able to see in here what they have coming up. So here's their hour breakdown, and they can see that on even a monthly basis, right? So it's much easier for them to be able to know what they have coming up. And then whenever you make a change on your end, it immediately shows them on their end, which is really what the NCAA is looking for. So hopefully that helps so you guys can see how the three interfaces align. And again, I apologize for all my mix-up and confusions because I'm just doing this live. I will get you the other video soon. Thank you.